Hey, Em, that environmental group you were telling me you just joined, wasn't it called Operation Cleanup? They're in the paper.
Great! They're finally getting some publicity.
Yeah, it says here they're supporting a proposed tax on businesses that cause certain types of pollution.
The people in the group think that's our best chance to stop more chemicals from getting dumped in the river.
Huh, okay.
Oh, you know you asked me to help you with your diet while Mom's gone.
Yeah, probably just a few more weeks now that your grandma is getting so much better.
Mm-hmm.
You about ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Remember, I have to go to the Operation Cleanup meeting today after school. Then I'm going to go to the dry cleaners. Uncle Cyrus is going to show me around today.
No, I forgot to tell you. Cyrus called last night. He needs you to come over right after school today. One of his employees quit, and he needs help.
But he hasn't even trained me yet. Besides, I need to go to the meeting.
Emma, we're in your uncle's debt for offering you this job. I'm sorry about that meeting. You have to get your priorities straight.
Right.
What was that?
I said you're right. I'll be there.
Good.
Okay, Emma, you get the next customer. Now remember, just because you have straight A's doesn't automatically mean that you have the brains or the talent to be a good dry cleaner's assistant.
Okay, Uncle Cyrus, I'll keep that in mind. What are my hours?
We'll talk about that later. Show me what you've learned.
Can I help you?
Yes, thanks. Hello, Cyrus.
Sharon, meet my niece Emma, a brilliant student with a great future. I know what you're gonna say.
What's that?
That genius and good looks run in this family.
Pleased to meet you, Emma.
Mrs. Bradford runs the restaurant down the street, the Silver Spoon. Best breakfast in town. I keep telling her she ought to stay on for dinner. Increase profits.
Increase workload, you mean. That's B-R-A-D-F-O-R-D.
Okay, is Saturday all right?
Saturday's fine. That reminds me, Cyrus, you have to join us at that town meeting Saturday afternoon. We have to take a stand against the new tax law that's being proposed.
Meetings. You really believe the politicians are gonna listen to small business people like you and me? Forget it.
Suit yourself. But a group of us will be there representing local businesses. And if I were you, I'd be there too, considering that the dry cleaning industry will probably be hit hard if this new tax becomes law.
Oh, Sharon.
Why is that? Why will the dry cleaners be affected?
Well, dry cleaners use chemicals every day, chemicals that have to be used and disposed of properly. Well, I've got to run. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Uncle Cyrus, you don't think the new tax law is going to be that bad, do you? Maybe in the long run.
In the long run? You try running a business in the long run. They ought to take all those crazy environmentalists stirring up trouble and make them run my business for 1 week. Maybe that'd show them all the harm they're causing.
Maybe they're just trying to make the water safer and the air safer for everyone.
Maybe they're just trying to put me out of business.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay, I have a history exam tomorrow.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, except for Michiko.
Oh, is she new?
No, but she's been taught in her culture that it's very important to respect the teacher. So she thinks she's being critical of me if she doesn't understand something. It's holding back her progress learning English.
I think Uncle Cyrus is being held back.
Held back? Please. His business is doing great.
That's not what I mean. I was at the shop today, and one of his customers was talking about that new tax law.
Right.
Uncle Cyrus knows that it might hurt his business, but he doesn't want to do anything about it. He just has this attitude that no one's going to listen to him.
Lots of people feel that way.
Dad.
What?
Dad.
What? Okay.
But you are the one who's always telling me that citizens have to participate in their government.
Well, it's true. We all have the right to express our interests about taxes. That's guaranteed by the First Amendment to the Constitution.
But?
But, well, not everybody has the energy or the inclination to write letters, call their legislators, or join groups like you've done.
But it's not that Uncle Cyrus doesn't have the energy. He said something like, politicians won't listen to people like me. That means he thinks the whole system is rigged or something and there's nothing he can do about it. So he is being held back. He just doesn't understand that he can make a difference.
Honey, theoretically, I agree with you. But in practice, well, I may be the older brother, But I can't remember a time when I've been able to tell Cyrus anything once his mind is made up. And since you just started working for him.
I get it. I should keep my mouth shut.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. For those of you who haven't met him, this is Franklin Taylor from the City College. He's going to be working as the Operation Cleanup Liaison with other environmental groups.
As you all know, there's a town meeting this Saturday to discuss the proposed tax law. So we decided that it was very important to make sure that everyone from our group had down the basics. We all know the environmental issues. Our primary goal is to stop the pollution of our rivers. Right now, we've been given an opportunity with the proposed law to make an impact on the businesses that pollute. But for you to understand how all this works, you need to be familiar with the basics of how a tax bill becomes a law. Now, you may remember this from history class, or maybe not. Anyway, here's my show. Can everybody see? Yeah.
Article 1 of the Constitution requires that all tax legislation must originate in the House of Representatives. There, it's the responsibility of the House Ways and Means Committee to initiate all tax legislation. This is presented in the form of a bill, which is the term for a proposed law. Once a tax bill is passed by the House, the next step in the process is the Senate Finance Committee. Once the Senate Finance Committee approves a tax bill, it is voted on by the entire Senate. If the bill passes the Senate, then a special conference committee tries to combine the House bill and the Senate bill into one. That isn't always easy. After the conference committee agrees on one version of the bill, that version is reported back to both the House and the Senate, and votes are taken on the committee's compromised version. If it is adopted, the revised bill is sent to the White House. The president has the option of signing the bill into law or of vetoing it. In order to override a presidential veto, it takes a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress, another example of the system of checks and balances in our government. So, instant replay. Here's how tax legislation works. In the House of Representatives, the House Ways and Means Committee initiates the tax bill. When this bill passes the House, it goes on to the Senate Finance Committee, and when it passes there, it's voted on by the Senate. Then, a committee works on a compromised version of the House and Senate tax bills. This version is taken back to the House and Senate for a vote, and if it passes, the bill goes to the President for approval or veto. A 2/3 vote by House and Senate will override a veto.
Any questions so far? Yes.
What part do groups like Operation Cleanup play in all that?
What's our role? A good question. We're a kind of special interest group, a pressure group. We put our views forward to our representatives in Congress as forcefully as we can. Yes.
But when there are groups or individuals who oppose what we're trying to do,
There's always going to be conflicting interests. So how do they get resolved?
Right. Tax policy is usually a compromise that is made up of the considerations of the various interests of the citizens and the legislators. But, you know, sometimes a squeaky wheel does get the grease. So that's why it's important for all of us to go down to the town hall on Saturday and talk to Congressman Galdos about our main interest, the environment. Thank you, everybody.
All you need to know at this point is to separate the clothes like you would with a regular washing machine. Then set the controls as I've shown you here.
Uncle Cyrus, I noticed this cleaning fluid is wet, but it's called dry cleaning.
Good. It's very observant. Feel it. It evaporates immediately. Doesn't affect the fabric at all.
Uncle Cyrus, what do you think? Is it a problem using all these chemicals every day and disposing of them?
Sure, it's a problem. There's dry cleaning machinery on the market that's better. Doesn't let chemicals in the air where we work. Makes it easier to dispose of. But it costs a lot of money, and I can't afford it. Especially if I'm gonna have another tax slapped on me. Chemicals are a fact of life, and if the government wants to run my business, then they should pay the price.
That's a good idea.
That's a stupid idea. I'm just running off at the mouth. There is no Santa Claus, Em. The government's not gonna help me with my problems.
But really, let's talk to Dad about it. He said you're coming to dinner.
I'm making dinner. So, am I a good cook or what? Huh?
I was doing great on my diet until now. Are there any plots the two of you been cooking up behind my back?
Well, actually, I wanted to talk to you about Uncle Cyrus's business.
Hey, see? She's trying to take over already.
Dad, you know that new tax law they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's supposed to tax businesses that are doing the polluting so they'll clean up their act. But what if there was, instead of a tax, some sort of incentive for cleaning up?
Well, one type of incentive like that is a tax credit.
What's that mean exactly, tax credit?
It means you get a certain amount deducted from your tax bill, a credit. In your case, for what you might spend to make cleanup improvements.
Like buying new equipment that doesn't pollute.
Sure. Your tax bill gets reduced by 100% of the credit.
So you're saying I spend $1,000 on new equipment and I get a $1,000 reduction on my tax bill?
That's how a tax credit works. But what you get it for now depends on how the bill is written.
Buying the new machine could be cheaper than paying the penalty tax for polluting.
But that's a good reason to go to the town meeting tomorrow and talk to Congressman Galdos.
Em, I've told you, the town meeting is just a show.
But there'll be lots of other business people there, like your friend Mrs. Bradford.
And Emma will be there with Operation Cleanup.
Great. I'm supposed to go to a meeting with a bunch of crazy environmentalists. Em, what are you hanging around these people for?
But I believe in what they're doing.
What they're doing? They're trying to ruin my business. It's their fault I have problems in the first place.
But, Si, Emma is suggesting a way you two can work together.
How? At some meeting staged just for the television cameras?
Uncle Cyrus, I'm sure if there were television cameras, you'd look great.
You're a little heavy on the butter, aren't you?
You know, all this environmental stuff is really paying off. I got an A on my last science report and a date for this weekend. Come on in, sit with us.
Okay, in a minute. I'm looking for somebody.
Hi, Emma.
Hi.
Folks, could you please take your seats? Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Congressman Galdos. Hello, Ira. How are you? Good to see you. I'm grateful to all of you for coming today to express your points of view. Before we start, I'd like you to know that this is all part of the process of getting tax laws passed, and each of you is part of that process. You're here because you have definite points of view. Your interests can cause changes in the tax laws. Let your elected representatives know what you think. I applaud you. People should always feel free to write or telephone their representatives, to participate in meetings such as this, to listen to open sessions of the legislature on television, and form citizen interest groups. Thank you. It's all part of the process. You see, the final version of any tax law represents a balance, and often a compromise among many different interests, often conflicting interests. It's our job as representatives to examine each point of view shown to us and to try and come up with the best solution to the problems. Today, we're going to be listening to various interest groups about this proposed legislation. Speaking first in favor of the tax is Operation Cleanup. And then we'll be hearing from the Community Business Association on the possible negative impacts of the tax. Are there any questions so far?
Excuse me.
Would you please identify yourself, sir?
I'm Cyrus Harper, a local businessman. I wanted to ask, could we talk about a tax credit for businesses that clean up the environment?
Well, that sounds very good. I'll be glad to hear your ideas.
Not mine, hers. I believe in giving credit where credit is due.
I'm so glad you came.
Well, I was just testing. I wanted to see if the congressman would really listen to us or if it was all for show. So far, so good. These young people today, loafing on the job already.
I was just reading about the town meeting.
Is there anything about me in there?
Well, they did mention a local businessman from the audience who raised a question about tax credits.
Well, next time I'll have to mention the shop. You know, that's good for business.
So you don't think my environmental friends are crazy anymore? Because I do think we can work together.
It's like I told your father. We have to stay open-minded. So maybe I'll come to accept your new friends after all.
Hi, Jordan. Hey, Lori.
Especially when they need a good dry cleaner.
The content of Understanding Taxes was developed in cooperation with school and economic education agencies from across the United States and Economics America, the National Council on Economic Education. Understanding Taxes was produced under the supervision of the Agency for Instructional Technology in association with Action Productions Incorporated and Educational Film Center. Funding was provided by the Internal Revenue Service.